Brian Kenny and Teddy Atlas back here with you. We are in Stuttgart, Germany. Vitali Klitschko and Juan Carlos Gomez ready to get it on in a heavyweight title fight. We go to the tail of the tape. Klitschko, as you see, look, the problem for the opponents of Klitschko is right there. 6'7", 249. He's now 37 years old, had that nearly 4-year retirement. Juan Carlos Gomez, though, again, 35 years old. Again, a long career as a cruiserweight, good amateur career. Teddy, we talked about that on Friday Night Fights last night. Gomez, 10 title defenses as a cruiserweight champion, but now moving up, weighed in at 230 pounds, 10 pounds lighter than he was for his previous fight. Klitschko at 249 is 4 pounds lighter than he was for his fight where he looked so good against Sam Peter. Let's go to the ring right now, and you'll hear the familiar voice of Michael Buffer.
John Kane. From Japan, Nobuyuki Uratani. And inside the ring, your referee in charge of the action at the bell. From Belgium, Daniel van der Wiel. And now, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the colors of Cuba, official weight 104.5 kilos, professional record 46 fights, 44 victories including 35 knockouts, only 1 defeat with 1 no contest. From Havana, Cuba, former cruiserweight champion of the world and WBC #1 heavyweight challenger in the world, the Black Panther, Juan Carlos Gomez. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing black, official weight 113 kilos, professional record 38 fights, 36 victories, including 35 knockouts, only 2 defeats. From Kiev, Ukraine, 2-time world heavyweight champion and reigning, defending WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Dr. Iron Fist, Vitali Klitschko.
I spoke to both of you in the dressing room. Obey my commands at all time and protect yourself at all time. Touch gloves.
Calm demeanor of an experienced professional, Vitali Klitschko. You see there, 6'7", calm as he stood there in the top 2 heavyweights in the world, side by side, Vitali and his younger brother Vladimir.
Brian, the first thing you see when they're in the center of the ring, obviously, is the size difference, the height difference. But what you're about to see when they engage is the length difference, the wingspan.
Right.
And I think that's the key for the fight for Klitschko. He wants to control range.
He's been able to do that so well in his run as a heavyweight champion and then coming back and fighting Sam Peter. We're underway, and Juan Carlos Gomez looks to flurry immediately.
And that's uncharacteristic for Gomez. He's a safety fighter. He's a counterpuncher. He's a guy that likes to pull with his jab, and he's always looking for that left hand, the power punch for a southpaw, the punch that he can turn his back into, pivot on that back foot, and get some weight behind it. But he likes to stay outside and take advantage of your mistakes. I don't know if he's going to be able to win that kind of fight, again, with the longer Klitschko. He might have to take chances. And that's really not his temperament, not Gomez's temperament.
Gomez tries to get in and throw that straight right hand. He's got a good arsenal, good fluid movement in the ring, several hundred fights as an amateur with the Cuban national team. Again, he came up into the heavyweight division and was seen on U.S. national TV fighting against Samil Sam. And Teddy, at the time I watched him, I thought, this is when James Toney had just gotten into the heavyweight division, I thought, all right, Juan Carlos Gomez is going to have an impact as a heavyweight. That hasn't happened, although he can make it happen tonight.
Yes, he can. And the thing that I noticed right away, that the two fighters are doing in a very similar fashion. That might sound funny because physically they're so different. So much different as far as just physical stature. They both like to paw with their lead hands, Ryan. Of course, Gomez, the lead hand for the southpaw, is the right. He paws with that. Always looking to set up the backhand, the left hand. Same thing with Klitschko. Doesn't really use that jab to control range. He paws with it. He's looking to set up that right hand.
Almost looks like Gomez is doing a mirror job, though, on Klitschko. If you're going to put that out there, I'll put that out there as well.
That's always been his habit, to paw with that hand, always looking for the left hand. Basically, to me, Gomez is a one-handed fighter. The only thing you have to worry about, really, is the left hand. That's the one he's going to try to win the fight with and do damage with. And right now, I think Klitschko's moving the wrong direction. He's moving to his right into that left hand, as he did right there. He should be moving the other way, away from that left hand, to his left. Strategic mistake early. We'll see if Klitschko pays a big price for it.
Already, Vitali Klitschko is having more trouble with Juan Carlos Gomez than he had against Sam Peter. He came out and relaxed within the first 30 seconds of the fight against Peter, found his range, and really was able to drop his left hand and just snap jabs off his head. He's not able to do that right now.
And one of the reasons why he's not snapping that jab. He's not using it to control range, as you just said, and set up that right hand. He's pouring with it. And by pouring with it and not throwing a full jab, he's allowing Gomez to close the gap.
Gomez sticks his tongue out and smiles at Vitali Klitschko. Klitschko, a man who again once was the heavyweight champion of the world. Came back, beat Sam Peter in October of 2008. Remember, he had that run for mayor of Kiev, Ukraine, while he was away retiring. Did retire. He had back injuries. Also had knee injuries in 2004. He was trying to get back into the ring multiple times against Hasim Rahman. We'll go through his timeline, again beating Corey Sanders. There was a little controversy there that Sanders was rated as highly as he was, beating Vladimir Klitschko. But again, the win for Vitali propelled him to the Ring Magazine champion. He ran for mayor of Kiev, again lost, by the way, but then came back so impressively against Sam Peter.
And again, you look at the timeline, the most important thing to me is that fight with Bird. Because in that fight, I believe he submitted and he found out what it took to be a pro. That he had control of things. He didn't have to give up control of things. And in the Lennox-Lewis fight, he didn't fight to win or lose that fight. You know, it wound up being stopped on cuts. He fought for redemption, to feel like a pro, to feel like a man, and to be confident. And I think the confidence is what allows him to come back after such a long layoff and have the performance he had in his last fight in getting one of the belts with Peter, and now being able to fight who I think is a more viable opponent than Peter was, Gomez, the former cruiserweight champ.
Yeah, you wouldn't have thought that going in, or you shouldn't have thought that going in if you're watching from a distance. Peter, one of the top heavyweights in the world and had one of the belts. Juan Carlos Gomez, again, really just one loss in his career. That's to Yankee Diaz, a one-round KO, but he had management issues. He had issues outside of the ring. His lifestyle's not said to be the best. But if you ever had a chance to be properly motivated, Teddy, this is it. I mean, he feels his career was mismanaged by Universum. Those are the guys who are now promoting Vitali Klitschko. And Teddy, he said in his last fight against Vladimir Virches that beating a Universum fighter was more important to him than beating Virches. So he's fighting Klitschko and his old promoters right now.
And that could be a double-edged sword. It can be a dangerous thing, too, because you can get too emotional. And in that ring, you want to be cold. You don't want to get too emotional. You don't want to get angry. You don't want to get vengeful. You want to be smart and stay in your fight plan.
Now Klitschko moves in, but is quickly tied up.
And again, at the end of this night, I'm going to say it very early, Gomez will have, win or lose, especially if he loses, he will have nothing to complain about. He will not be able to say, I could not deal with the height, the wingspan of Klitschko, because Klitschko's given up his height. in a lot of cases, Klitschko has been engaging Gomez in close quarters.
That's usually not what he does, Teddy, right? Klitschko usually uses all of that height, that wingspan.
But he's not extending that jab. He is looking for the right hand, but he's pushing that jab out. And by pushing it, not getting a full jab, he's allowing that to happen. He's allowing Gomez, again, as I said early, to close that distance.
Well, first round was very close. In this round, Klitschko has landed two sharp, jarring right hands.
But when you're fighting the southpaw, that's the southpaw killer, the right hand. That's what trainers, that's what fighters like to look for. That's what Klitschko is looking for, and he's been successful with this round.
Final seconds of the second round here in Stuttgart as Vitali Klitschko is being put to the test by Juan Carlos Gomez.
Again, Brian, you saw a minute ago, Gomez not having trouble getting close, but he's not doing much when he gets there.
End of round two. We'll take a closer look at Juan Carlos Gomez. Nickname is the Black Panther. He $15. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm just saying that's quite an incredible record.
Well, the Cuban national team are known as being the best amateurs in the world,
certainly,
for the most part. And with that, the most experience. They get a lot of fights.
What would you tell Vitali Klitschko in the corner this round, Teddy, if you had him?
One thing, Brian, extend that jab. Get a full jab, not a three-quarters jab. Keep the shorter man where he belongs, away from you, where you have the big edge. Where you can hit him, he cannot hit you. And if I'm Klitschko, not now, but more importantly, the theme throughout training camp was make Gomez earn real estate. Charge him for it. Not money, but punches. For every foot, every 2 feet like that he tries to gain, charge him 3 punches.
Gomez now lunging in. His best wins, Oliver McCall, and older Oliver McCall, twice in 2005 and 2007. As Klitschko flashes in a jab, misses with the right hand. He also had that win, as I mentioned, where he looked so impressive against Samil San. Also has wins over cruiserweights Al Hall and Imamu Mayfield. Those guys were quality cruiserweights.
Look, when you're the shorter man, as the southpaw Gomez obviously is, there's one thing that you know you have to do. You have to get into range of the longer man, the taller man, to be able to be effective. Now, there's 2 ways you can do that. The old conventional standard way is you work your way in. Behind your jab, you bring your feet like that, and you step in. The other way is you step out, believe it or not, and you try to entice the taller man to give up his height, to walk into traps. It looked like Gomez was trying to do the latter early. Try to stay outside, get Klitschko to give up his height. Right now, he's doing it the old-fashioned way, Gomez. He's trying to go after him. And right now, Klitschko, in this round, mark it down, 3rd round, doing a better job of controlling range. Standing on the outside, using that jab a little bit better, still not extending it. And he's looking to pot shot with the right hand.
You know, for so many years, Teddy, as you see, talking about the physical gifts of the Klitschko brothers, and Vladimir is certainly the more fluid of the two, but for both of them, I just remember so many fans in the United States not being impressed by either one, but when it comes down to it, you had to ask, yeah, but who beats them? Because they both can box, and they just have enormous size.
Well, as long as you say that statement, you have to ask who beats them, then I have to make the statement, who's there? The landscape is a very forgiving landscape for heavyweights nowadays.
That's true. Certainly is now. Most of the top heavyweights in the world are all 30-something. Very few 20-somethings on the way up.
See this? That is not what you like. Gomez, the shorter man, he's been hurt a little bit as he tries to get in, and that's what Klitschko wants to do. Two things. One, keep him at the end of his punches and catch him with the right hand, keep him at the end of his jab, and the other is to be able to let him walk in, control range, and then catch him, counter him as he walks in, as he reaches and leaves himself available.
3 rounds in here in Stuttgart. I believe that's Boris Becker.
The former tennis
great, Wimbledon champion, and a leading man there in Germany still to this day. Vitali Klitschko in his corner. Fritz Stunek is his trainer for Juan Carlos Gomez, who you see there. It's Orlando Cuellar. You know, for all the, I feel, Teddy, that we're giving credit to Gomez for being in the fight, and yet he's not able to effectively do too much against Klitschko to this point.
No, in spots he's being effective, and you bring to mind that great saying, you want to be aggressive, but you want to be effective when you're aggressive. He's stumbling a little bit.
Right.
He looks like he's groping and getting lost in space.
And again, he is a guy who normally looks fluid, but it's difficult to be fluid when you have that telephone pole sticking in your face.
See, there's the groping. There's the being lost in space. He's reaching in there. Now, what you don't see there in that replay, you see the misses, and that's good. But if you're Klitschko's trainer, or if I'm Klitschko's trainer, you know what I'm telling him right now? Make him pay. You did the hard part.
Yeah.
You made him miss. You got him into space. Now, enact the toll on him. Make him pay when he gets in space and when he gropes a little bit.
4th round here in Stuttgart, Germany. Hans-Martin Schleyer Hall, Brian Kenny, Teddy Atlas here in ESPN Boxing Special. There was some controversy yesterday in Stuttgart as they measured the ring, and the Gomez camp found it to be 4 feet too small. 4 feet. I mean, is that a mistake, or is that we're going to fight in a phone booth? And look, here's the phone booth.
I think that's the local promoter who controls Klitschko and controls the fight.
It's a home fight for them, yeah.
Trying to get an advantage, and that's boxing. You wouldn't see that shenanigans in any other sport. It wouldn't be allowed.
Strong right hand there from Klitschko as he drove Gomez back, and Teddy Atlas gave the first round to Juan Carlos Gomez. I thought it could go either way in the last 2.
Could you imagine in another sport, just to make a little bit of an analogy, Brian, you know, you're playing Tiger Woods, and, you know, he hits it pretty long, right? Mm-hmm. So let's change the fairway. Let's make it 100 yards instead of 300 yards.
I think they did that.
I don't think you could do that. You're playing Tiger Woods. I don't think you could say, you know what, I want to make this 100-yard fairway instead of 350.
They wanted to Tiger-proof a course. They tried to Gomez-proof this ring.
Exactly.
Make it tighter and tighter, make you fight in a small space where you could not possibly escape the big man. You have some leeway, but there are limits to how small you can go.
Now, again, I talked about it earlier. There's 2 ways to deal with a taller man, as Gomez is trying to do with Klitschko. One is to work your way in, one is to step out a little bit, entice the taller man to give up his height. Now, Gomez is looking to do it by walking in, but you need to use more than one jab. When there's distance dictates how many jabs you need to get in. At that distance, with a tall man like Klitschko, you need 2 or 3.
That was a beautiful jab there, Teddy. Just snapped it right off. He's starting to land more cleanly, and Gomez, if you look at his right eye, is now starting to puff up. So while Klitschko, you know, it's not apparent that he is just strafing the face of Gomez, you can see the effect of just several clean shots. Jabs, right hands, landing right over that eye.
Well, both men have been cut badly over their left eye. There's scar tissue with both men. And Gomez has been involved in head clashes, headbutts before. If he gets in close, the danger could be to the taller man with a headbutt. Because if he gets in there, the shorter man's coming up with a skull. And obviously the one who's going to get the damage will be the man who's above, and that would be Klitschko. So you can look for that if Gomez gets inside. Does he use his head a little bit?
Final seconds of the 4th round. Vitali Klitschko starts to take a little better control of the action, but still a stern test from the former cruiserweight champion.
I'm comfortable in jeans that are tough. I'm comfortable in Wrangler.
Wrangler 5-star premium denim jeans. Built comfortable. Priced right. Wrangler real comfortable jeans.
I thought a complete multivitamin was enough. until I learned 1 in 3 men will face prostate issues. And One A Day Men's has more selenium than Centrum to support prostate health. And it supports heart health. That works for me.
One A Day Men's.
It's the AutoZone Rewards Card, and it's free to every AutoZone customer. It's simple. The more you shop at AutoZone, the more rewards you earn. So get your free rewards card today. It's our way of saying we're proud to have you as a customer. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
World Baseball Classic semifinal, Korea, Venezuela, tonight at 9 on ESPN.
There's that right eye of Juan Carlos Gomez. You see a bloodshot start to puff up underneath and above as the right hands are starting to come a little more surely from Vitali Klitschko, and the damage is starting to take effect. Brian Kenny, Teddy Atlas, WBC championship fight in the heavyweight division. Vitali Klitschko, the champ, won that belt from Sam Peter in October. Former consensus heavyweight champion of the world, the Ring Magazine champion of the world, before he retired and went away from the ring for about 4 years.
Ryan, that's a picture you just saw a moment ago of the two embracing on the inside, tying up. That's a picture you do not want to see if you're a fan or a backer of Gomez. He's a shorter man. He works like hell to get in close. You want to do something. You do not want to tie up or allow yourself to be tied up.
Because he is starting to pay that price that you mentioned, Teddy, on the way in. Look at his eye.
There's a tax that's toll on a fighter in that ring, especially when you're a shorter fighter. There's a charge to get inside. And again, the charge in the boxing ring is punches.
You know what, as they do tie up, and that benefits Klitschko, keep an eye on how long or how short each clinch is. Daniel Van der Wiel of Belgium, the referee.
Little blood right eye of Gomez, I believe.
Right, I believe so as well. Yeah, there it is now, trickling down, and a little more than trickle at this point, coming down as that eye that was puffed up earlier in the round is now bleeding. But Teddy, I was just going to say that a referee does have a choice when men clinch. You can say fight out. You can have guys fight out of a clinch, or you can break them up yourself. And each time you break it up, now you're benefiting the man who is tall like Klitschko, who can now reset and say, okay, now you got to get back inside on me.
That's a good point. A lot of people complain that you don't have a lot of fighters that behave like the fighters of the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, where you had so much more action and guys could develop. A lot of people say you don't have good judges anymore, and you don't have really developed referees anymore that understands the sport in the dimensions they need to. And right now you see Klitschko controlling range a little bit.
I see a change in body language in Gomez, Teddy. I wonder if that cut has kind of causing Gomez to become a little undone. I don't know if it's subtle. I just looked at it the way Gomez suddenly just got looser, a little more desperate, feeling that blood. That blood is not pouring into his eye. It's not that it's not anything, but it does bother a lot of fighters when they get blood near their eye.
Well, 75% of this game, and a lot of games professionally, is mental. And when you get cut, a fighter can be discouraged, whether the blood's obstructing his vision or not. He can start to connect that with his success rate.
Right.
You know, well, I must not be doing good. And that can start to bring him into a negative spiral downwards. And a fighter, again, the physical part is one thing, but the mental part, the most important. Keep your concentration, keep your confidence. And again, Gomez always trying to get in, but he's using one jab, and he's falling short. With a tall man like Klitschko, it dictates you use 2 or 3 to close that range.
That was a damaging round for Juan Carlos Gomez there, cut in the round, but again, not just on one shot, but Klitschko repeatedly battered that eye. And next Friday on Friday Night Fights, March 27th, 10 p.m. Eastern, we christen Los Angeles' newest boxing venue. Our main event showcasing number 7 in the world, Samuel Peter, against the next big American heavyweight hopeful, Fast Eddie Chambers.
I need to have that chance to show the world me beating Sam Peter, or put me right in his spot, and that's where I need to be.
ESPN, your boxing authority. This is an ESPN boxing special right now. Sam Peter will have a lot to prove next week against Eddie Chambers, a skilled big man. As we get back to this fight, Klitschko and Gomez. Gomez trying to smile there, doing a good job on that cut as they stem the flow of blood, but that is in a bad spot, Teddy, as it is, in fact, on the eyelid. And any that blood can get into his eye.
And the man doing that good job on the cuts in Gomez's corner is Mark Vaz, an experienced cutman and cornerman.
Look, there, you can see a lot of good fights, and you can point to a number of different things, but what comes to mind recently, Teddy, is Juan Diaz against the great Juan Manuel Marquez. Once Diaz was cut, it changed the fight. Now, Marquez may have knocked him out anyway, but that was a high-level, excellent fight, and when a man gets cut, he can start to get a little looser in there than he was, and that might be happening to Gomez right here.
Yeah, the men or the fighters or the athletes or any professionals who haven't really gotten a stranglehold on what the essentials of being a pro is, which is to control yourself no matter what the environment. A real pro does not get swayed by a cut. But how many real pros exist today in any profession?
Well, Gomez is vastly experienced, Teddy, so maybe he gets it back on course here. Of course, that's coupled with who you're facing, and he's facing a big, skilled, and now tough man.
Yeah, but there's a universal language, and Gomez just spoke to me. You didn't hear him? He said, I'm not together, because he just got on the inside, and he embraced the taller man. Look, he put his hands behind him. You put your hands behind the man, you're telling me, you're telling that fighter, I don't want to fight. I want a silent agreement, a silent contract. You don't hit me, I won't hit you.
See, now there's Vanderwill, good for him. See, I love that type of referee that said fight out. That's what you need, fight out, fellas. Gomez gets tripped up. So that's a slip. But again, physically, Gomez is not what he was a few rounds earlier.
Ryan, what do we see? We see Gomez, groping a little bit, walking into punches, stepping forward with this taller man. What do we not see? Again, we do not see 2 or 3 jabs to close that gap, to keep Klitschko busy as he comes forward so he doesn't pay a price as he walks in. And again, hands behind Klitschko, that means Gomez speaking that universal language. He's yelling to me, I'm not in control of myself, I'm not confident, I'm not disciplined, and I'm not going to win this fight this way.
Vanderwill has given him an opportunity. He did just there because he put his hands behind him, just as you mentioned, Teddy. Vanderwill did not break them. Fight out. And that is to Gomez's advantage if he can do it.
See, I can't yell at Klitschko. Maybe if you're a fan and you want to see more exciting boxing, you can. But I can't yell at Klitschko for tying up on the inside. He's the taller man. He can't use those long arms inside. So he's doing something smart. Gomez doing something weak and something that is going to hinder his chances to win. There's a cut on Klitschko's forehead now from the headbutt. I talked about Gomez early, Brian, being involved with that head inside. And I would have to say that probably came from a head.
They both have come together a number of times, and at first I thought the blood may have been from Gomez on Klitschko, but no, that blood is indeed from a cut above the hairline on Vitali Klitschko, but the blood started to come down so he could feel it in his eye. We'll keep it here. All right, so is there a cut at this point already?
Yeah, he's already bleeding, Brian. And right here, what you see is Gomez being out of sorts, being off balance. Gomez landing that power hand, the hand that he looks for, the left hand, and getting an opportunity because Klitschko went straight back. There's the cut.
How would he have gotten cut up there, Teddy? I was just very high up on his head. Could he have brought his head down to that point?
Well, that's what I was talking about early in the fight, that Gomez is known for getting involved in head clashes. And when you get inside, the only way that can happen is if the taller man, of course, obliges and bends down a little bit. And if he bends down, he's going to get the worst of it, as he did, because the shorter man, Gomez, is going to come up with his skull. I would say he bent down and obviously a little bit on that side. And again, you would not think that a punch would have provided that kind of damage.
Certainly didn't see it.
Again, we're assuming, we haven't seen a replay, that that cut was caused by a headbutt, but I think it's a pretty good assumption being where the cut took place.
Again, not in a terrible spot. Again, Gomez is cut above his right eye on the right eyelid, so that's a very bad spot for a cut as we start round 7. Vitali Klitschko, WBC champion, defending his belt, is cut above the hairline, so you would figure if that's not mussed in any way, it would take quite a shot for it to muss that. You can control the bleeding, and it doesn't have to bleed into your eye very quickly at the very least.
Yeah, the good news about a cut up in the scalp, up around the skull area is, one, the doctors don't look to stop it because it's not going to be permanent damage around the eyes or around the face, so they don't worry about that. The only problem is sometimes it can pump a little bit, and then, of course, it can run down and obscure your vision. Right now, they have it stopped. The cut man who did that job on Klitschko was Jacob Duran in the corner of Klitschko.
These guys used to spar together, Teddy, so they're both known entities. I don't know if Gomez thought he knew something coming in as he smiles again at Klitschko. Oh, and he comes and connects with a good left hand and backs it up with another.
Now look, I said it early, Brian, win or lose, Gomez cannot complain at the end of this fight and say, gee, he was too long, he was too tall, I couldn't get close. He has gotten close. He must do something about it when he gets there.
Good right hand from Vitali Klitschko, backs up Gomez again.
And again, if I'm Klitschko, I think Klitschko strategically giving Gomez a little chance by giving up his height.
Strong right hand, and Gomez is hurt, and down he goes. Strong right hand from Klitschko, and Gomez could not stay up. And the wheel will give the count. A clubbing shot from Klitschko, the first knockdown of the fight here in round 7.
And again, that's the punch that Klitschko's always looking for, and you look for against the southpaw. Now what Klitschko has to do now, Brian, is not get too close. Keep enough range where he can keep that offense going, and he's doing a pretty good job of it right now.
Another sharp right hand. Klitschko moves in and will try to finish.
Look for the uppercut now as Gomez starts to fall forward a little bit. That can be a very good punch as they fall to the ground, as they get tangled up.
Gomez was trying to clinch and would not let go of Vitali Klitschko. In survival mode here, less than 30 seconds to go in the round, and Gomez is taking abuse.
Now you just said the word survival mode, but Gomez is not tying up now. That's what he needs to do. He's allowing Klitschko to keep his hands free. Gomez right now, he's lost his round. He can't win this round. He needs to survive the round. He needs to do that. Grab, hold on, and kill the clock.
Final seconds, and Gomez does indeed barely survive this round. Tremendous round 7 for the champ, Vitali Klitschko. Well, it didn't come out of nowhere, Teddy. Klitschko had been working it, had been landing right hands, and then it was a clubbing right hand shot. There it is, kind of a half sort of hook hybrid shot that put him down.
Actually, sort of an uppercut, a hybrid uppercut, where he adjusted the angle to where the opening was, and that's what experienced fighters do. There's a straight right hand. That's another punch, not the one that put him down. And again, the right hand, the hand that you look for when you're fighting a southpaw.
Well, let's see now how Vitali Klitschko can finish. Gomez got through that round. He's only won one round, really, at best. I don't think you could give him much more than that.
You know, looking at Gomez in the corner, I'm going to take a venture that physically he's recovered. But emotionally, mentally, that's the question. And we're going to find out the answer to that very shortly.
After that tough brawl with Lennox Lewis, Klitschko went through Kirk Johnson, Corey Sanders, and Danny Williams, beat them all down and knocked them all out. Did the same thing to Sam Peter.
See, this is where fighters, you know, a lot of people say this is where a fighter's chin gets tested. This is where a fighter's character, to use, you know, just a simple word, and I hate to use it, but his heart gets tested.
Well, how much resolve do you have? You got to dig deep at this point. Gomez certainly is hurt. His right eye is puffed up, so he's not seeing as well, and he knows he's in there with a man who can take him out. Big, strong, 6'7", 250-pounder.
Now, the bad news for Gomez, we all know it. He's been on the floor, and look at the scorecard. He's way behind. The good news is Klitschko still gives up his height, still allows you, by pulling with his jab, not fully throwing the jab and extending it, he allows you to get close. And Gomez needs to get close to pull this fight out of the fire. And it is in the fire right now.
Oh, yeah, it's raging. And Klitschko starts to drop that left hand, which is a good and a bad thing. It's not a good habit defensively, but it's a sign of just how relaxed he is, kind of in the pocket, taking shots, pot-shotting Juan Carlos Gomez.
One thing I noticed subtly that Klitschko's doing from a strategy standpoint, he's moving a little bit to his left, away from the power hand of Gomez. Really the only hand you have to worry about with Gomez. You don't have to worry about that lead right hand. He only paused with it to set up the left hand. So if you move to your left, you basically take Gomez out of the fight, because you take that one hand away that Gomez is looking to land to win the fight.
Well, you know, U.S. fans like to see aggression in the heavyweight division. You have to say, Vitali Klitschko is bringing that tonight. Look, he's been effective, and he brings power, and he lands hard shots. I know neither Klitschko brother has really become a superstar in this country, but Vitali Klitschko is doing his part tonight in Stuttgart.
And remember, Gomez is in, unfamiliar terrain, so to speak, because he's really a defensive fighter. He likes to lay back, he likes to counter, likes to be a little bit slick and cute, and he's being forced to be the opposite of that, and that's not his thing.
Gomez eating shots now. Again, there was a lot of criticism of Vladimir Klitschko when he fought Sultan Ibragimov at Madison Square Garden and was just content with dominating rounds. Gomez is hurt. Gomez could be done. He almost turned his back, and that would end the fight.
I think he changed his mind. Don't think fighters don't go through those moments.
Yep.
I think for a moment there, you're exactly right. He did turn his back. He was thinking about getting himself out of there, ejecting himself from the fight. I think he changed his mind. Let's see what he does in the corner now.
Non-stop action and the champs who always deliver. From the Showtime Archives, Championship Boxing, Thursdays at 8 on ESPN Classic.
Play fantasy baseball this season on ESPN.com, featuring auction drafts. Click, draft, dominate, all for free. Go to ESPN.com/fantasy today.
Back here in Stuttgart, Brian Kenny and Teddy Atlas. And Teddy, I didn't think, as we look at the cut being addressed there and dressed for Vitali Klitschko, I didn't think there was any way we were coming back for another round. I would have put money on it, Teddy, that Juan Carlos Gomez went back to his corner, and his corner said, that's it, but they haven't. They're sending him back out.
Yeah, but sometimes what you look for now is, in that kind of situation, the fighter who you thought was going to be stopped makes one last hurrah, he comes out a little bit strong, and then the air goes out of the balloon. If that's true, this will be the last round. We'll watch.
Gomez has every reason to be completely discouraged. He's been hurt, he's been knocked down. He very nearly quit, or as they say in Europe, since that's where they are fighting, Teddy, retiring, right? He's just retiring in the middle of a round, but he did think better of it. He straightened back up and he fights on. So to his credit, even though you got to figure there's very little chance of him winning this fight, certainly not on the cards, as he gets hurt again with a right hand. He has to come back out.
Talking about retirement, I think the crowd is a bunch of retired people. They don't make much noise.
There's a bad cut now to the other eye of Juan Carlos Gomez. I didn't see, was that from the heads? Referee Vanderwilt taking a point away, is it? It appears so. Wow, a point is being deducted. Daniel Vanderwilt, referee from Belgium, must have figured that that was an intentional clash of heads. Why else would you take a point away? That makes no sense to me, but that's what happened.
Obviously no warnings before that.
And now he goes down with a right hand. Klitschko drops Gomez. There's very little left of Juan Carlos Gomez at this point. He has been beaten down, bleeding from both eyes, but he says he wants to fight on.
Now let's see if he runs into the propeller of the plane.
Klitschko pouring it on.
Gets it over with.
Gomez pawing, tries to get in. One uppercut, and this will be done, but give him credit, he's fighting on.
But right now, Klitschko wants to keep range, doesn't want to get smothered, just enough range where he can keep that rainstorm of punches flowing. Right now, the straight right hand has been the punch for Klitschko. He used the jab just to hypnotize Gomez to set up that right hand, but a change to an uppercut might not be a bad...
Oh, a strong right hand.
An uppercut could be there now to finish this fight for Klitschko as Gomez leans forward.
And now a left, and Gomez on his last legs turns, and that's it. Fight should have been stopped, and it was. Daniel Vanderwilt says that's enough, as Gomez did turn his back and was looking for a way out. And you know what? this was the time to end this fight. An impressive performance by Vitali Klitschko. 3 knockdowns, very nearly a 4th right there. And there's no doubt who the winner in this ring is.
No, Gomez, former cruiserweight champ, Brian, 33 of his 46 fights were at cruiserweight. The bigger man wound up dominating this fight.
Vitali Klitschko, a knockout winner in Stuttgart.